All right, so this part is going to be talking about building your course. And there's a lot of things I kind of want to talk about in this section. One is going to be, if I requested the migration of stuff from D2L into Canvas, what does that look like? And we'll take a look at a class, okay? If I have, a migrated course, and then Ed, you're saying request a source course, and then I have this course that I'm actually going to be teaching in. Okay, what does that mean? How does this all fit together? Well, here's Ed's approach on things, okay? You can take it or leave it, but let me just kind of start with this. Right now, many of you hopefully have a migrated course, okay? That you put in a request to migrate content from D2L over into Canvas. Now, I know that I said D2L is bye-bye. It is. And if for some reason you go, I didn't get the memo, okay? Ed, when did you do this? Okay, I just go bang my head against the wall for a while and I come back down and go, okay, let me know, what it is that you had in D2L. We can get to some of those files and we can still do a migration. But let's say you have this migrated course out here. What I'm going to tell you to do is to look at this migrated course and take inventory. Just look at it, what's there, what came across, and just kind of really leave it alone. And the reason why is that if you go in here and you start deleting things and changing things, okay, it's not very easy for us to go back and get that course anymore. It's very difficult. So I'm going to say, ask for a source course. Okay, we also have production courses. And we're going to talk about how do I take the migrated course and maybe copy the entire thing down here to a source course. Or if I'm feeling very dangerous, let's just go ahead and take everything from migrated and move it down to the production course. And then start cleaning things up, if that's what you want to do. Leave this alone. That's what Ed is going to say. Leave it alone. Because even though you might think, well, I'm just cleaning things up, delete, 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 delete. Oh, dang. What did I just do? Uh-oh. Ed, okay? Now, we could copy everything at one time and then clean up. Or we can say only copy certain items into either one of these things. I know what many faculty do. Once they get this class set up the way they want to, let's say for one semester, what do you do with this class that is pretty close to perfect? Mark, what did you do? Let's say this was a fall class.
Well, that production course is that production shell is the shell that the students work with.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. So there's students in here. But I know that you're going to tweak this thing all semester long.
Correct.
Okay. What many faculty will do is they will say, okay, now I see spring.
I would ask you to take the production course from the fall and put it over to the spring so I still have my fall one for good measure.
Okay. So a lot of people, that's what we do. We basically tweak this thing all semester long, and then we will copy the content from here over here, because what I might have started with here is going to look very different. Okay, we're always tweaking things. We're always making things better. Now, what is kind of cool about Canvas is that I can reset courses. So let's say that I've tweaked this thing, it's looking really cool, blah, 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 that I could reset this and copy the content out of this fall class back into a source course. So I sort of have this fresh copy of that. that, you know, I could share with the faculty, or I could do whatever else I want to do with that. The reset option is brand new to Canvas. It was something that we did not have in D2L. So if I go into a course, let's say just this demo course, and I click on settings, right over here, you'll see a reset course content button. Now, when you click on the settings, reset course content button, the first thing it says is something like, this action is irreversible. The data cannot be recovered. Are you sure you wish to continue? With a big red button that says reset course content. Now, I would typically do this if I want to start over again. And this might be a good example. I've got the source course that I started with, you know, 6 months ago. I've got a better version of this. I'm going to reset this source course, and then I'm going to copy the best, latest, greatest material in here, okay? Or maybe I was out playing around in the Commons environment, and I imported from Commons, okay, this content. I look at it and I go, oh, that's not exactly what I was hoping to have. I don't think I really like that. You could reset it, go out, find another course in the Commons, import it, take a look at it. Say, oh, I like this much better. I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to then request a second source course. And then maybe I'll do that down here. I would never, 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 ever reset a course that I'm teaching, that I have grades in, okay? Because when I reset that, I am removing all the grade information, I'm removing all of the student submissions, okay? I see this sometimes used when the instructor calls me and says, Ed, I grabbed the wrong course, okay? You know, I was copying it from one semester to the other, and I grabbed the wrong course. It was supposed to be a 120 class, and I grabbed the 240 class. Ed, can you reset this? And so that's why I'm telling you that this was not easy for Ed to allow that reset button, because it's very dangerous. But then on the other hand, it also provides you guys with that ability if you made an error or you want to clean some things up. But just be aware of them. This is irreversible. It's very dangerous, okay, with that. So Mark, does some of this make sense over here? We're talking about, does that make sense? Kind of, this is Ed's strategy. Get that migrated course, take inventory, look at it. What's there? Okay. If I come back over here to my dashboard, let me see if I can find a migrated course, and we'll take a look at what it looks like. Okay. So
Do you have access to my course by any chance?
I possibly could. I have to log back out and take a look at it. What I'm going to show you here is that when we migrate things into Canvas, D2L had something called content. Do you remember that little content tab? Okay. When you clicked on content, it had folders. Okay. Those folders and the content from D2L are the same thing as modules. So when I go into modules and I see, oh, I guess I had a folder called Read Me First. I had a folder called Lesson 1. I had a folder called Lesson 2. Okay. These folders, okay, in Canvas are called modules. They're containers. That's really all they are. Inside of these modules, you will see, you know, maybe I had, in this case here, a link to something. Or maybe I had a quiz. Or I had a discussion. The migration is pretty clean. It comes across just fine. What will be missing is that in D2L, you could put into the content tab maybe instructions. Okay, those are not there. they're there, but they're not visible. Okay? So you kind of got to think about, well, how do I do this? Do I, create new instructions, or do I, how do I make that happen? The organization is there. If I come over here and I click on assignments, this would be anything that might go into the grade book. So like I have, quizzes. I might have drop boxes. I might have discussions, okay? All of these things come across. So if you look at assignments, they're probably going to be there because they might have had an attachment to the grade book. As I look at Canvas, you're going to see little icons over here. So like this little thing with a pencil, that might represent like a Dropbox that I'm collecting a paper from you. Something that has these little bubbles that look like little conversations, those would be discussions that would have come across. As I scroll on down, you see things that look like space shuttles or airplanes or something. These would be quizzes. So this is kind of where you might have to start taking inventory. What came over? Then you start to click on these items and see, did my questions come over? Do they look good? So in case of, let's say quiz number 2, I click on that. I might have to come in here and maybe do a preview and see, are these questions here? Are they showing up? Okay, take inventory of this. So that's kind of what I'm asking you to do is if you haven't done that, go into that migrated course, take a look and see what's up. What will be missing? Widgets. Okay. In D2L, we had pages, like a home page that had all these different widgets on it. Okay, that is no longer there. Another thing that will be missing inside of Canvas is that if you had something that used, I'm going to call them replacement strings. And an example that I'm going to look at is right here, where we used to have these little brackets that would say, welcome, first name bracket, second name, last name bracket, okay? These little things here were what we call replacement strings. So D2L would go out and find the student's first name or last name and replace it, okay? Canvas cannot do that. So if any of you were using that approach in D2L, you might want to go and clean that up. That's not supported. The other thing is checklists are not brought over from Canvas or into Canvas, but everything else pretty much is there. All of your discussions, all of your assignments, all of your quizzes, some of that, folder organization, that's all going to be there. Take inventory. Now, questions over that? And come talk to us. I mean, Mark, come in and say, hey, listen, here's what I've got. Where did that go? Why is that missing? Another thing to look at would be files down here. When I click on the files on the left-hand side, if you had folders inside of D2L, those should come over. If you have PDF files, if you have zip files, that comes over. You were asking about how do I add things that might be here. One way would be to go to the files option and say upload. Okay. Now that's like putting it in a filing cabinet. It's there, but maybe the students can't see that, which maybe is what you want to do. Some of you might say, I'm teaching a face-to-face class. I would like to use Canvas as sort of my filing cabinet that I can go in and retrieve things. I don't want the students to necessarily have access to it through the online environment, but I use it as a filing cabinet, and I can create folders out here, that might represent different things. I can put those PDF file, my Word documents, my PowerPoint's in there, okay? But I'm not necessarily going to make these visible to my students. It's there. It's organized. I'll show you here in a little bit, how can I take something that's in my filing cabinet and make it visible to the students, if that's what I want to do. You with me so far on what we're doing? Okay, we're taking inventory. We're seeing what's out there, what came across. Okay. I'm going to go back up here to the dashboard. I'm going to show you a couple of things. One is I went out into the commons space and I thought, what are some samples that might, help talk about course design? And one of them that they've talked about in different communities is this biology class. Now, you might look at it from a content expert and say, this makes no sense whatsoever. But I'm kind of sharing this with you because in D2L, we had what we called a home page that had widgets. That went away. We do not have widgets. What Canvas has is something called pages. And so I can create a page that might show some of the same items that I might have used in a widget. Some faculty in D2L had a widget that had an image up at the top. Then they might have had another widget that might have said, here's an introduction, okay? So in this case here, they're using a page that has images on it and that has links to other parts of the course. I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not saying you have to do this, but this is one way that I see kind of a welcome page could be designed. Okay, we'll talk about that more in detail. Some courses may just say, go right to what I would say like the content tab inside of Canvas. I'm going to have all these different, what they call modules. And basically, this is the way I'm going to organize it. When you come into week number 1, these are the different exercises you're going to do, or different things will show up. That could be something called the module approach, which is like the content tab instead. Okay. In Canvas, the instructor can decide, what do I want the student to see the first time they click on that card? You know what I'm talking about when I say the card on the dashboard, right? What are they going to see? If I say home, there's an option over here that says choose the home page. What do I want that students to see that first time they come in? And here's where the instructor can choose. Do I want them to have a front page that I have developed, that I've created, that it has graphics on it? Do I want them to go right to the course modules? So they basically see the folders. Folders might say, read me first week, second week, lesson 1, lesson 2. Do I want them to go to the syllabus? Some instructors have said, dang it, Ed, make sure my students read the syllabus. They need to read the syllabus. Well, if I do this here, and I say save, the first things that those students will see when they click on that desktop card is going to be the syllabus. They can't get by it.
Every time they log in?
Every time they log in until I change maybe my home page over here. What I want you to think about is this home page selection over here on the right can be changed any point during the semester. You could start the first week of your course and say, the syllabus is so important that for the first week, that's all they're going to see is that syllabus. That's the first thing they're going to see. Okay? Maybe into day 3 or day 4 of the course, I say, I'm going to change it. I'm going to take them to a different location. These are changeable. I can change it at any point during the semester. I can say start with syllabus. After a few days, switch it over to a page or switch it over to a module. These can be changed at any time.
Can we set a date for that to be done, or do you have to physically do
You
that?
physically would have to do that, okay? But this is up to you as the instructor to decide when they click on that card, what's the first thing that student is going to see? And I see lots of variety up there. I see some of them that will say, dang it, I'm going to see the first couple days of the semester syllabus. They're not going to get by it. They're going to see that syllabus. But then, as they go past that, they are going to maybe see modules or see a page. I'm showing you this biology class because they're kind of combining a lot of different things. Right here, if I say save, this home welcome page has a link over to the syllabus tool. They put that in there. As I come on down here, they're going to have link to a module. So what they're doing is they're setting up a landing page that then points out to different directions. You can say, I don't like that. I don't care. That's fine. But it's an approach. How did they do this? Well, if I go in and I edit this page and I look at it, what you're going to see starting from here is what we call an HTML editor. As I start going in and working with different tools, it might be the quiz tool, it might be the announcement tool, it might be the assignment tool, it might be any of these tools over here. If I start editing things, you're going to see this HTML editor. You're also going to see options to see what else is inside of Canvas. So the editor says bold, italicize, underline, change the font type, change the font justification, indentation, okay? Scientific, notation, different equation editors and stuff like that will show up over here. Bulletin, just like a normal kind of text editor that you might see or a word processor. As I come down here to the next thing, I can put in tables. I have the ability to put in videos, hyperlinks, images. I'm just throwing this out there because you're going to start seeing this in a lot of places, this HTML editor. What did the biology person do? Well, what they did was that they went in at the very top of this page, and they probably came over here and they looked at what images do I have in my course. So they see that there are different images that were, either uploaded or were brought over from the migration process. Wherever you put the cursor at, let's say right here, if I click on that image, notice how I now have a link to that image that all I did is I clicked on where that cursor was going to go, and I found that over here, and it's embedding that automatically into, now I don't want that, I'm going to take it back out, but that's what I'm doing. You can also know over here on the links, if I already have something in this course, okay, maybe it is an assignment. I can click on where my cursor's at, and I can say, right now I have made a link to that lab. Maybe it was a quiz. I've now made a link to that quiz. Maybe it was down here, a syllabus. See on over here, there's the syllabus. I can say, make a link to the syllabus. What we really like about Canvas is that once you start building things into the background, you have access to that over here on the right-hand side to link to. So you could build pages that link to modules, quizzes, discussions, Dropboxes, files. So remember we talked about uploading those files into the background? They're in the filing cabinet. If I want to pull them out of that filing cabinet, I would probably create a page and then come over here to maybe files, find where is that file in here. And I would put my cursor there and I would say, here is this lab.pdf or something like that. Now, when I look at these, after I save it, these are basically now just links that I can go out and actually, oh, in that case there, or I could, I think there's another, what's it, PDF, right there it is. Can look at it that way. So what I want you to think about is, how did you do things in D2L? You know, did you take them right to the content tab? If that's what you did, then down here, this modules, wherever it went to, right there, is maybe what you want to use. You want to take them right to this particular page, and they'll see all of the, you know, week 1, week 2, week 3. If you used a welcome page that had widgets on it, you may want to think about having a page that has, you know, maybe some images on it, or maybe links to different things as you start to work on your course. I'm going to take these things back out. I don't want them there.
If we're in a module, we want to add more content to that module. Oh, just the plus sign.
Yep, I'll get there in a second.
Okay.
Yep. So what I want you to think about first of all is that you have different options to choose from. Okay, you have different things that you can present those students with. And you can change your mind from day one until maybe you get that syllabus out of it. Hey, you know, you've had 3 days to look at this thing. I'm now going to shift to having you look at modules or having you look at a different page with that.
Can we rearrange the left-hand column under home with move syllabus?
Yep, absolutely. So if I decide I don't like the order, I go to settings. And in settings, there's an option that says navigation. And here is where you're going to see, probably as a default, all of these tools. You're going to see this thing that says drag items below that you don't want to have displaying. So for example, I drug the files tool below because I don't want students to go in and look at my filing cabinet. You know, it's my filing cabinet. I only want to let them see what they're supposed to see. And then Mark, you said, what if I want to take the syllabus? I'm thinking maybe I want to drag the syllabus up here right under home. Okay, I can drag that wherever I want to. Now, once I do that, there's this button down here called Save. I need to save it or I'm going to lose it. The other thing that you're going to notice under the Settings Navigation tab is that there are other options that are starting to build connections to publishers. So as I look down here, I see McGraw-Hill, I see Cengage, I see my labs from Pearson, Macmillan. These are connections to publisher content. So I don't know, Mark, are you doing anything directly with the publisher? Okay, if you were, we could possibly drag this up here into the menu, and that provides that link right to the publisher content. Does that make sense? Okay, now.
And if you want to take some of these off,
Just drag them down below. See this little thing that says drag items to hide? Just pull it down below there. Okay, just pull it down here.
it never really deletes it, it just makes it toward top.
It just hides it. Yeah. So that's something that, and then once you have it up here, you can then change the order. Maybe you want grades up at the top here, whatever you want to do. I don't think you can change the home button. No, you can't do that. It always is going to try to be at the top, and then save it. And then that's what the students will see. If you go to home, you're going to see a student view over here. So see, like right now, I see all of these things. When I say student view, that's when it's going to actually clean it up for me. And hopefully I only see those items that I've chosen and the order in which I chose them. Does that make sense? There's a lot of customization in here. Now, do not ask me to rename tools. It's not going to happen. A quiz is a quiz. An assignment is assignment. A discussion is a discussion. People are people. I'm not changing that. And one of the reasons why is that because this is a cloud-based system, all the tutorials, all the guides, everything like that talk about tools named this way. So I really don't want to even think about renaming something if it's going to be in the guide modules or assignment discussion.
It's like some of these are kind of not old, below quizzes. Why are some of the, why are they kind of balls invisible?
Because I haven't put anything in there yet.
So once something goes, it looks dark, I guess.
Yeah, let me do something in a second. But yeah, until I put something in here, it may not show up right away. And that's fine. I mean, even though there's pages out here, I may not be hiding those. So I wouldn't worry about that. You can always look at the student view. That's always going to give you a true view of what that might look like. I'm going to go back over here and get rid of some things because I don't want to mess it up too much. Let me get rid of these
There's
things.
no reason for the students to see the files necessarily.
No, I would not. I would probably say that's my private
Okay.
sort of filing cabinet. I will, if I want that student to see something that's in my filing cabinet, I'm going to put edit. I'm going to put the cursor wherever I want to put the cursor at. Then I'm going to come over here to files, and I'm going to find that file that I want to share, and I'm going to click on that, and now I have a link to that. Now I could also go in here and maybe instead of just saying PDF, I could say this is the micro quiz, okay? And then when I highlight that and I click on, notice how it's just a hyperlink to whatever text I put in there. So this becomes sort of my palette. I'm putting things down. I want you to also think about, from a design perspective, if I were trying to give instructions, modules is good to sort of organize the order in which, week 1, week 2, week 3. Okay, I put things in there. I want you to, do it in this order. Pages, on the other hand, are nice to sort of give instructions. Read chapter 1, pages 1 through 50. Complete the discussion on blah, blah, blah. That's where I could come over here and actually link to, with instructions. Watch the video. Complete the quiz. Pages allow you to kind of, in text, actually give those instructions and tell them. that's sort of what's missing over here. Okay, let's say stay and get this out here. That's what's missing under modules. In D2L, we actually have the ability with the content tab to add those instructions, you know, the text. That really doesn't show up here. You could create what we call a page that might be called introduction and instructions. And it might say, you know, watch this video, take this quiz, participate in this discussion, blah, 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 like that. So that's where you may have to do things a little bit different because we're stripping out those instructions that might have showed up under content. Thoughts? Mark, is there a lot of work we're going to need to do, or is it some minor stuff?
Probably, I'm hoping minor stuff right now too.
Okay. Let's go over and find a blank course. That's sometimes something I want to also show you what we start with. Because this was one that we migrated over. If I go in here to a blank course, this is a pretty good indication that there's nothing there. It's saying create modules. Okay, modules are like folders. So let's say I come over here and I say, yeah, let's create a module. If I were teaching an online course, the first time I would say, you know, start here, or read me first, or something. You know, I'm trying to, when that student comes in, I'm trying to say, here I am, start here, read me first, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You're going to start to see as I add modules, I have things that might say lock. And basically, there could be stuff inside of here that might be visible, but I would not let them click on it until a certain date. So I can create a module that might be locked. Visible, but locked until a certain date. So I can say lock this until, you know, a certain date. See these little buttons over here that say publish. What does publish mean? Do you remember?
To allow the students to see it.
Okay, so right now the student wouldn't be able to see this. So I say publish it. Cool. I can come back up here and say, okay, add another module. I don't care. Maybe we call this week 1, week 2. I can say lock until also a certain date, and I can also add a prerequisite. Some of your colleagues over the years have said, dang it, they're not reading the syllabus. Some of your colleagues have actually created a syllabus quiz. And they're saying you cannot get to week 1, week 2 until you have successfully completed the syllabus quiz with a certain score. So in Canvas, I mean, you could just throw these modules out here, which are folders, and just leave them alone. But because I know that you're going to look at some of these little things and say, well, what does lock mean? What does prerequisite mean? It means that you can set up stipulations that a date is attached to this module. A certain date has to happen before they can actually click on it. Or a prerequisite has to happen. That maybe there's a certain test score, or maybe they have to, you know, look at something within the previous module before we let you go on. I'm not saying you have to do it.
If you
It's
want
just
an
what's there.
individual file within a module not to be present until a certain date, how does that actually, how would you set the date?
Okay, so I would probably have to set the module up with a date. I probably could not put a file inside of it that has a different date.
Oh, okay. Or make that its own module.
Make it, yeah, its own module. Now, you're talking files. If I had a quiz, that's different. If I had a discussion, that's different. If I had a Dropbox, that's different. Because on those 3 tools, I can have a start date. Files don't have start dates. Okay, but a quiz has a start date, a discussion has a start date, a Dropbox has a start date that I can say, put it in there, but they cannot start participating in, you know, these tools until I say start. But on the files, I would say, it's there, but you can't click on that until a certain date to get access to that file
Under their own modules.
under those modules.
So I need to take, because I have some quizzes that are the students print out and they take them, but I don't want them to see them until I'm ready for them to see them. So I need just to put those quizzes for them to eventually print out into their own module.
Probably.
I'll just do it that way.
Probably a module. I don't think I can lock, I'm almost positive I can't lock files until a certain date. I mean, there are what they call prerequisites that I can say you can't do this until you read this module or look at this module or get a certain score on a certain module with that. You can move things around. So let's say that in the migration process, you've got all this stuff and you say, oh, I don't want this. You can start moving things around if you want to. You can duplicate things. This is a blank course, so there's nothing in here. But in your migrated course, you'll start to see all of these different modules that you can drag and drop to different locations. You can unpublish them. So like there's this little green button over here. If you want it to sort of be in a draft mode, okay, you could say unpublish. You see it as the instructor, but the student doesn't see it. So that might be something else you think about is, maybe I'm not ready for them to see this.
What's in a module, do you put the dates? If you want to have it published.
Okay, you would publish it, but you would lock it.
Okay, okay, so I just unpublished it, but I
Okay, go ahead and publish it, the ... go over to the 3 dots. Okay, and say edit. Okay, that's the quiz. Okay, let's close that. Okay, go up to quizzes over to ...
Here.
Yeah, click on that. Okay, now say edit. Okay, now you can say lock until.
Gotcha.
And then that's when that AP quizzes, it's going to be visible, but you can't actually click on any of that stuff until a certain date.
I don't know what that is yet, but now I know how to do that. Okay.
But you're starting to see those green dots that mean publish. Publish means visible. Lock means you can't get into it. So you kind of got to think about how you're going to do that. Okay, this is a blank course. Here's where you're going to have to decide if I'm starting from scratch. If I start all over again, how would I go about it? Well, in some cases, you're going to have materials that you're bringing with you. Maybe they're PDF files, maybe they're Word documents, maybe they're PowerPoint files. Maybe you've got a list of quiz questions, okay? You're going to start from scratch. I'm going to say start outlining things. How do I want to present this stuff to my students? After I have a start here, am I going to have week 1, week 2, week 3? Am I going to say chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3? Am I going to have something maybe that says handouts, quizzes, exams? Okay, I don't care. It's how you want to organize it if I were starting from scratch. Different classes behave differently. A face-to-face class, you're going to see them on a regular basis. So you have the opportunity to kind of help guide them and direct them what you want them to go to. If it's an online course, they need a lot more structure. That's my observation. Students want to know, what do you want me to do? When do you want me to do it? So that's where a lot of times if I'm organizing an online course, I'm going to say week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So that way, hopefully, they know, where they're at as they go along. After I have that organization, I might come over here to assignments. And I could come and say, we're going to talk about this more in detail, but I could say, create an assignment, or actually I could do that kind of under modules. I could come back under modules, and where it says this little plus button, I could say add an assignment. Add a new assignment. What's the name of that assignment? It's going to be quiz 1. Just put it in there. I don't know what is going to go into quiz 1, but I'm going to have an assignment called quiz 1. Create another assignment. It's going to be called, well, actually, I could have done it here. Should have been quiz 2. I'm just creating items that I'm going to come back to later on. Oh, I'm also going to put in a discussion in here. Don't know what it's going to do, but it's going to be a discussion. It's going to be a good discussion. So it's going to be an introduction. Add it. Okay? It's a placeholder. I'm just putting things in here. Notice that I start to see, are they published? Nope, they're not, but I'm going to publish them. And then I'm going to drag them around a little bit. Okay? Maybe I'm going to create another module. This is going to be called, oops. Week 1. Add. I'm going to say, move this one down here under week 2. I'm just showing you how, as you build things and organize things, what that might look like. I don't have any questions in here. I don't have any instructions in here. I'm simply outlining this and starting it to come together.
And with a quiz or a discussion, you can put start and end dates.
Absolutely, I can.
And that's the 3 dots is where I would go to do that.
You would go into dot edit, and you might have to say, well, you might have to actually click on the quiz itself, because that's only the module stuff. If I go into the quiz, I need to probably look over your shoulder to make sure.
Okay, so here's like chapter 1 quiz.
Okay, so just go ahead and click on chapter 1 quiz. Okay, click on edit. Okay, and then you may have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of this quiz. And down at the very bottom is going to be a available from date. That means when can they start taking it?
Okay.
So let me show you what Mark's saying.
And time as well, you can do times.
Yes, you'll be able to do that. So if I say quiz 2, for example, and we're going to spend a whole day just talking about this, or a whole session. When I say edit, I come on down here. This is a quiz. Mark, you said time. I can say how much time I'm limiting them.
Okay.
But more importantly, down at the bottom, this is where, if I say due, that means this is when I want it. It's going to go to the calendar. Anything that has a due date is going to automatically go to the calendar. Available from, like quizzes, discussions, and drop boxes. That's basically when can they start working on this? And you can see it. It's in the modules, it's in the assignments, but until available, they are not able to work on it. And then until, you could have a due date that says Friday at 5 o'clock. But you might say, I will still accept them up until Sunday at midnight. In other words, you're willing to take some late assignments. You're not totally going to penalize them.
I'm not saying a time factor, I'm saying a date.
Well, there's probably a time factor there. If I click on the calendar here, down at the bottom is time.
Oh.
So I could say
Okay, it's
on
there.
the 11th at midnight, down at the
Okay.
bottom there. Okay. Now, if you put in on these things a due date and a start date, but no end date, that's fine. It just means it's going to be flagged as late. That's one of the things we're going to start learning is that when I put a due date in, it goes to the calendar. If I have something that is either taken a quiz or a Dropbox, after that due date, the gradebook is going to flag it as late. Which means, you know, if you don't want to put an until date, just leave it open for the rest of the semester. It depends upon how you teach. You know, some of us will say, you know, this is when I want it. But I'm also not going to, you know, turn away a paper or turn away the ability for you to take this quiz. I may penalize you for it because it was late. And so you're going to see this with the quiz, you're going to see it with discussions, you're going to see it with drop boxes, due dates, available until on all those different tools.
Question now, I know we're going to talk about quizzes another time. Will the quiz or the discussion disappear on that date and time that you set it there? Does it just go away, or can they not click on it?
They can't click on
It's still visible
it.
though.
It's still visible, but they can't click on it. Okay. Now, if it's not published, that's another thing. Okay, if now, the problem with unpublishing, I cannot unpublish something that has already had activity in it.
So it needs to be published, but the end date, as long as there's a time that I can say, okay, you can't take this quiz anymore. I think the D2L just disappeared.
It could have,
I think it,
yeah,
but one of them.
sure. Now, here's another thing. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I want you to understand, in these tools, you could have a student come to you and say, Dr. Levitt, you know, I've been overwhelmed. My 5th grandmother died, and you're going to need to give me more time on this. You know, can you give me another week to work on this? If I come in here, okay, I can say add an exception.
Oh.
Down here at the bottom, I can say add, and I can give Johnny different due dates, different dates here. Now, I'm going to look at it as a positive perspective. I've had faculty come to me and say, I've got a student of mine, they're 3/4 of the way through the semester, and they're going to be deployed. They would like to get this work done before they leave for deployment. Okay, that would be another example where, you know, everyone in the class would normally have these due dates and available dates, but I'm going to go in here and add, you know, Private Eddie. The Private Eddie is going to get different due dates, different available and end dates with that.
And then you can also, for some students who may go through access services and need 50% more time, you can add the time here
Correct.
somewhere as
You
well.
will do that in the quizzes. I'll show that to you when we get the videos. Absolutely. We can do that. But what I want you to kind of start thinking about is when you're designing your course, you have a lot of flexibility. Okay? You know, as students come to you with special situations, you have flexibility with these tools. You need to decide, how do I want to present that? Do I want to give them module approach, the week 1, week 2, week 3? Modules inside of Canvas are very linear. You know, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, that way. That's kind of the way the modules are designed. You do this first, you do this second, you do this third, you do this fourth. And as I look at a course, I'll just show this to you. If I go into a course like the iTeach class in a second, let's just go into the iTeach late summer, and I click on modules. Okay, and let's just say I click on read me first right here. Okay, it's just showing me that, and it's giving me a next button. It wants to go on to the next item. In D2L, when we would look at a item, I still had my table of contents here. Canvas takes that table of contents away. So it says next. So I go, okay, next. And then it says previous, next. Okay, that's really the way the modules are designed, is a very linear process. If you like that, cool, it's built in. Next, 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 previous, previous, previous. Okay. You'd have to go back into modules and say, well, you know, I don't know if I want that to be, I want them to do the course introduction first. Okay, that's kind of the way you would have to design that. Let's see, what else do we see in here? There's a difference between Remove. Remove means I've added something in from, let's say, my filing cabinet or from the assignment list. Remove is not the same as delete. When I see the word delete, that means get it out of Canvas. Remove means just take it away from view. You know, I just don't want the students to see that. So this doesn't make me as nervous right here. When I see remove, it's still going to be in Canvas.
It's gonna be in files.
It's still going to be in files. It's still going to be somewhere. Versus if I say delete, that's going bye-bye. Okay? So I get a little more nervous about the delete as opposed to remove. I also see duplicate. So that's a good thing. Maybe I want to make something that looks very similar to what I have out there. I may make a duplication of that. I just may rename that and to move forward with that. View progress. I guess what I'm doing here is that this is a ability for me as the instructor to see what have my students actually touched on. So I see Melissa over here. Looks like that they have completed some stuff. Let me go on down to the next one. Okay, I guess that's what they've completed. Okay, I'd have to kind of take a look and see what this looks like a little bit more in detail. Okay. I guess you've done some stuff, Mark. Okay. But what I'm kind of pointing to is the fact that some of these things you can actually track. I've opened this wide open. This iTeach class, you know, it will be available for you indefinitely for the most part. But if you set locks up or certain other kinds of things, it will let you do some tracking and set that up as well. Okay. So design is what I'm going to be talking about or having you think about is how you want to lay this out. Very linear through the module approach. Pages gives you a little bit different approach. I've created a page that when I go in here to iTeach gives me a little more flexibility. I can use both modules and pages. So if I say home, you'll notice that right here, I have, you know, the ability to click on all of these different things. Okay. I like the use of pages sometimes that might include instructions. Read chapter 1, complete, you know, all these different kinds of exercises. So I use modules in conjunction with pages as I'm designing things. Now, because we're talking about design, I have to talk about accessibility. Have any of you ever had students that might have some disabilities? Maybe deaf students or, you know, I don't know, Mark, I'm trying to think of your discipline, but over the years, I've worked with a lot of different students in a lot of different classes with different disabilities. So the design I have to present to you, if you are using videos, for example, in your courses, great, great, great tool, fantastic tool. But if you're using a video, you should also be thinking about captioning those. If you are doing things here on campus, we can help you with that. Like the Zoom stuff I was talking about earlier. In YouTube, we can go out there and help make sure there are captioning with that. And we can, you know, work with Access Services to make that. If you are working with text and images, you should really also have alt text. Let me just create a page. Let me find something here a second to show it to you. If I go in here to a page and I say create a new page, okay, I've got these things sort of like embed images. So if I go out here,
The students would have to go to pages because you're not going to see the instructions anywhere but pages. You're not
or
gonna
on
see
the home page, or it might be a page inside of modules. I could have a page called chapter 1 instructions. And when they come to that page in the module, they would actually see that page. So let me see if I can go here. I'm just kind of, I want to show this to you. Let's just say Canvas. Okay, so last year at this Canvas Users Conference, they basically recorded every single one of these sessions. And so I was at the conference, and here probably the 1st of September, we will get the 2018 sessions. So I'm going to be looking for Jeff Costco's head in there somewhere, okay, because he goes out to it. This is a YouTube video. If I come down here to share, one of the options is to say embed. So I'm going to say embed, give me the embed code. Copy that. Go back over here to Canvas, and there's this little thing that says insert media, embed. Paste that YouTube embed code. Okay, and now what I've done is I've basically put into this page a video that goes out to YouTube. Okay, you know, videos are becoming almost a requirement in many of our classes. Students want to be entertained, right? So there's a lot of stuff that's appearing out of YouTube. YouTube has captioning. Let me show you another little option over here. The library came to me and said, Ed, do you know we have something called Films on Demand in our library? I go, yeah, I've heard of that. Can we put a link on Canvas that will let anyone that's a faculty member go out and look for, you know, a video that we measure? I'm just going to pick one. I spell right. Okay, so I can go out here and say, let's go ahead and embed this video. So now what I've done is I've went out here to videos on demand from our library, and I now actually have a video from the library that's captioned down here that I can add as part of my teaching processes. And that's all now because of the link that I have on videos on demand up here. Okay. Now, I like it because it's closed captioned. Comes from the library. It's already there.
If they go out to YouTube, though, they can click something to make it closed caption, right?
There's an auto-generate captioning that if you come to me and say, Ed, I've uploaded these to YouTube, we can actually get to them and help you caption those. But there is an auto-generate process with that.
I've done that for me before.
Yeah, I'm just kind of bringing that awareness to you that, you know, we like videos, we like media. We like media, Mark, okay?
Okay, I wanted to show you what I do here.
Okay.
So I have a link that I call Web Excursions with every chapter in the book. So this is the very first chapter. So I give a little overview. There's the video, a little overview. So all the video is really on this page.
Yep. That's fine.
It's just, and some things are embedded, and some things for some reason didn't come over embedded.
Okay.
But I'll figure that out.
Okay.
That's just how I know.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just kind of letting people know that it's just the way, it's the direction we're going with instruction. Is that don't just tell me, show me. Okay? And so that's also the reason why downstairs we have in the Tech Center a studio. You know, if you want to come down and have us record something, we have a light board. I don't know if you've ever seen a light board or not. We're doing stuff with that. So over in the biology area, if you have, you know, things you might normally go up and draw on a whiteboard, you know, cells and all that kind of stuff, we can actually record those and see the instructor's face at the same time. We can superimpose biology, like as PowerPoint, things in the background. I'm just throwing it out there because we want to help you. with these kinds of things. We also want to make sure that they're accessible for your students. We don't want you to come to us and say, I've got a blind student or a deaf student, and I don't know what to do. Now's the time before you ever have that student, come talk to us and say, you know, what's going on? That's also why there's this little thing over here that's called You Do It. We like You Do It because this is actually a universal design tool that's actually going to take inventory of your courses. So when I click on You Do It here in a second, it's going to go out and actually, yep, that's fine. It's actually going to look at everything in my course and see, does it meet some accessibility standards? Now, it may take a while. And the results, you may say, oh, that's okay. Or you may say, Ed, what does this mean? Look at these results. Tell me, am I in trouble? Okay. You know, we'll work with you on that. But what we really like about what Canvas is bringing to the table is that we now have in your courses this thing called You Do It, that you can run an accessibility inventory on your course to see, are there any possible issues that might be there. So as I look at this course, this is a class I'm currently teaching. I see that there are some errors out here. I see there are some suggestions. So as I open this up today, would be nice. Okay, come on, Ed. Open up. Now let's come on down here. This one, maybe we'll open that up. What I'm looking for is basically if there is an error that it's finding, it will also give us some suggestions.
Is it the red is the suggestion? Or the,
Yeah, it's the red is, oh, the blue is the suggestion.
or the blue?
Yeah. Why is this doing this to me? I think it's because it's still processing. Oh, here it is. Okay. So in this case here, the Welcome to iTeach, it found a video. And it's just bringing that awareness that this video should have captions in it. And I know that I have captions in it, so I'm not worried about it. As I come on down here, avoid using color. So let's say I'm colorblind. You know, I may highlight a piece of text and make it bright red. You know, people with color blindness, they have reds and greens. That means it's the same color. So if I highlight something red, it doesn't mean anything to me. So just keep that in mind. It's bringing that awareness to me. So You Do It is out there for you to run an analysis of it. You do not have to feel that you're obligated to fix things. You could bring it to us and say, Ed, Bob, Jeff, Saul, Meredith, what's this telling me? What do I need to seriously look at? You know, and we'll give you some feedback on what to do and what not, what you don't have to do. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm looking at the clock, trying to be very aware of your time today. But what we talked about today is getting you into Canvas, bringing that awareness of how do you kind of start to move around, talking about design, talking about looking at what you've migrated, taking inventory of that, deciding what am I going to do with that? Copy it all down to a source course, copy it all down to a production course, clean it up. Ask for more source courses. Go out to Commons, pull some things in. Ask for a departmental commons space. Okay. How do I want to present this? Is it going to be that first day? Choose the page of modules. Choose the page of a homepage or a syllabus. What do I want those students to see that very first time that they log in? I can change my mind. You know, maybe I start with syllabus and then I flip over to a page or a module approach. I have that ability to do that. Okay. So that's the conversation that we've started. We're going to continue talking about how to build assignments. That's our next lesson that we're going to do. How do I put things into the grade book? That's part of that. Mark wants to talk about quizzes. We'll get to quizzes eventually too, where we will actually build quizzes, look at question types, do that, talk about communication. But that's not going to happen today. That's going to have to hold until our next session. Any questions? No? Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead and stop the recording and we'll publish that out here. So when you're having problems sleeping at night, we'll do that. So I'm going to stop the recording.